Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. I'm Joe Grumbine, and today I will be both your host and the guest. So we started doing some of these solo sessions. I think it gives an opportunity to go deep into a topic without losing anything, and cutting some of these episodes even a little shorter, making them a little, I don't know, more friendly to a busy day. Anyways, today I want to talk about motivation and health. I think that motivation is a key factor to everything in our life, everything we do. We're motivated. We're motivated to do something or not do something. We're motivated. Actually, it's a lot easier to be motivated not to do something than it is to do something, unless, of course, it's a bad habit. So let's talk first about what is motivation. We talk about I'm motivated, I'm not motivated. Well, what is it? It's a drive. It's your desire. It's the thing that says I want it or I don't want it. And I think that it's important maybe to take a minute and uh, look at some of these things deeper, because a lot of times we take actions or inaction and we sit there at the end of the day and go, man, I didn't do this. I should have done it. Procrastination and goal setting and all of this stuff. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, dumb luck and all of that. Well, I think most of it can boil itself all the way down to motivation. And so I'd say that motivation as a definition is an inner drive, a desire. It's the emotional or psychological force that fuels our decisions, especially about health or about anything really. Considering everything is connected to health, I guess it is everything. So it's that fuel. It's we think about emotions and thoughts and the difference between the two. And thoughts are something that can create or destroy. Thoughts are something that you can solve. You can do all these things, but feelings and emotions, those are the things that cause us to do things, right? I want it. That's a feeling. It's not a thought. So we got to remember sometimes these feelings and thoughts, or feelings that I talk about sometimes about being worthless or short-lived, we can also take and harness them and cause them to make it easier for us to do something good and harder for us to do something bad. Make it harder for us to do something bad and easier for us to do something good. So let's look at maybe some of the things that we can chalk up motivation to. Goal setting. So, you can think to yourself, this is what I think I want to do. And you can say, well, I'm here. I weigh this much. I have this much body mass. I'm this strong. I'm this, whatever the thing that you are examining. I have these issues, or I need these issues. And you can say to yourself, okay, you know what? I'm going to set a goal. Here we are at the end of the year. If you're watching this later on, it's probably somewhere in the middle of the year. But when I'm recording it, it's actually at the end of 2023. And this is a time where sometimes people sit back and reflect. You get to the end of something and you take a minute and reflect on it. And so it's a great time to set goals, put up a vision board, think about what it is about your life that you want or that you don't want. Either way, it's good. So let's look at some factors that are involved with these issues. There are intrinsic motivations or intrinsic factors, such as personal enjoyment. I like the way I feel when whatever. When I made the decision to lose weight, it came some from common sense, some from the waking up to the fact that my dad died, and he had a lot of the problems that I was going through, or still probably going through. And it was a wake-up call. Um, the desire to reach potential, depending on how you were raised. Some people are raised with a positive reinforcement. You can do it. You're made out of God's creation. You are part of, stardust. You are capable of anything. Okay, cool. So, why am I not doing everything? And so you think to yourself, well, you're not reached your potential. You're capable of doing more than you're doing. So maybe there's an intrinsic desire for that. Here's a spoiler alert. The process is where it's all at. So, the personal enjoyment, more often than not, comes from steps along the way rather than actually achieving the goal. And then we'll talk about that in a lot of future episodes, but it's powerful if you know it and you can use it. There's extrinsic motivations, and these are things like rewards. I tell myself I'm going to do this. If I walk 10,000 steps, I get to whatever, eat a little bit of ice cream, or do something fun that I like that maybe isn't part of my program. Get a cheat meal or whatnot. Recognition. It's really nice when people say, "Man, you're looking good." I know when I lost, 50 pounds, I got to tell you, it felt good. Everybody that I ran into that I hadn't seen in a while was like, "Hey, Joe, you're looking good. You're looking younger. You're looking healthy." And so, wow, that was unprovoked. I didn't ever go out there and say, "Hey, what do you think? How am I doing? How am I doing?" That was one of the most important parts in my journey, was that I don't want to tell you what to think. In my life, I've had so many people that wanted to make me happy at one point or another, and they'll just say what they think I want to hear. And my God, if that obnoxious. So now, in the last several years, that I haven't given a damn about what people think. Um, but I want to know, in a sense, that I want an objective opinion. I want feedback, and that's important. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So getting recognized, recognition is important. It's a good motivator. Um, Social appeal, or social acceptance, like you can't go here if you are this or that. And you can't, you want to hang out with the cool kids, or you want to hang out with the fit kids, or you want to hang out with the marathoners. Well, you got to do what they do in order to fit in with what they're doing. So these are things that are part of our motivation. And I think one of the biggest motivators, unfortunately, is desperation. When you have to, they talk about hitting rock bottom before you find your way out of an addiction. You have to get to that point of desperation, the point where you find God, the point where you don't have anywhere else to go down. You've gone as far as you can. You've hit rock bottom on all of those things. Or you get an awareness, all of a sudden you find out that you're pre-diabetic, or you find out that you have a tumor, or you have whatever is your motivator. You coughed up some blood, or there's this thing that happened. Like in my case, my dad died, and it was a stark wake-up call. Or when I got diagnosed with sleep apnea, that was a big wake-up call. And so a lot of times we get hit with, or, let's just say, put it to other practical points of view. I'm broke. I always wanted to start that business, but, I always had the comfort of my job, but now my job's not paying the bills. I got to do something, or I'm going to lose this thing that I need. Huge motivation to get yourself going and start that thing that you hadn't wanted to do before. So desperation can be an incredible motivator. I hope that we all learn how to move ourselves forward without having to be desperate. It's a great motivator, but I don't think it's necessary. Some things to consider: we get motivated to do, or we get motivated not to do. And I don't know which one's harder. So, if you want to get motivated to do something, maybe it's something as simple as I want to eat more vegetables, or I'm going to take more steps, or I want to, gain an inch on my arms, or I want to see a six pack, or whatever it is. What you're motivated to do. Um, and setting goals, setting a plan or a program, acknowledging your path along the way. I've talked a little bit about it. I will talk about more of the Biohack 40 program that I ran the first course with Richard McEwen, and it was all about getting 1,000 push-ups in a day, and that was quite a motivator because it was something I thought was virtually unattainable until I actually did it. And we just did a few more every day, a few more every day, a few more every day. And Richard's whole notion is you just start with one. If you can do one, you can do 1,000. And I couldn't agree more. It was an incredible experience, and the motivation along the way. We're going to talk about grit throughout this as well. And there's a point where motivation and grit have to work hand in hand, and to keep going in the middle of something sometimes is the hardest. And then there's motivation to not do something, that gets more into things like addictions. And that could be anything. It could be a drug, it could be food, it could be bad behaviors, it could be sex, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. I think that one sometimes is harder because to not do something requires an attention span. It requires grit. It requires, the constant. I could always do it. We talked about it in a previous episode about, moments. And in that moment, I took that hit of a cigarette, or in that moment, I grabbed that cookie and gobbled it down. And in that moment, I did that thing I said I wasn't going to do, whatever it is. And frankly, it's so easy to do. And once you did it, you can't undo it. Once you take that hit, once you drink that drink, once you eat that thing or do whatever it is, it's done. Then the effects are in you, and you can't just undo it. There's no undo button in our real life. So these are all things that I think are important to consider. In my opinion, and I got this from a spiritual practice that I studied for a long time, and it had to do with weighing out something good or bad based on, is it getting you towards your goal or going away from your goal? And I think that that's a good way to uh, get some gains from motivation. If you set your mind on a goal and you say, well, is it helping me get towards this goal? It's a good thing. It's motivating me to do it. If it's pushing me away from that goal, then it's not a good thing, and maybe it's going to motivate me to not do it. So these are points of reference along the way. We talk a lot, or I will be talking a lot about relativity and how things are relevant to one thing or another. So let's talk real briefly about things that can improve your motivation, because I think that's really what it is. What can remove your motivation is just about anything. It's every goal is kind of like rolling a stone up a hill. And it doesn't have to be a big hill, but whenever you have a goal, every step towards it is kind of like rolling that stone up that hill a little bit. It takes an effort. It takes energy to make it happen. And if you let go and just don't do it, boom, it just rolls back down so easily. And it takes no effort to undo all the good you did. And so this is why motivation is so important. So things that improve motivation would be things like social support, encouragement. So, if you have somebody, a coach, or working out in a group or doing something together in a group, having that little bit of social support makes it easier. If you're on a team or you're working solo, I guarantee you, working in a team structure, if it's a healthy team, you will find it way easier to get things done because when somebody's cheering on you, even when you have one guy, a coach, pushing, come on, you can do it, go, 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 go. I It works. That's why people do it. And there's accountability. We talked a little bit about accountability in a previous episode, and accountability in moments and things like that. But if you hold yourself accountable, if you push yourself to have integrity, um, it can be a huge motivator. And things like sharing goals, they can amplify motivation and increase a sense of community. And community is a big part of this podcast, the healthy living community, working together, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. Another point of this is self-compassion. A lot of times we beat ourselves up. Sometimes working in a group is better, or sometimes it's not so good. But having some self-compassion, realizing that you're a human, you realizing that you're going to have moments of weakness, realizing that sometimes just holding on is good enough. Um, there's your place, the thing that's special for you that will get you moving. That's where self-motivation, self-compassion come from. Remember your mindset, having a positive mindset, focusing on progress rather than perfection. If your goal is to have that six pack and you're looking at progress, like for me, when I lost my 50 pounds, I decided I'm going to be accountable. Every day I'm going to hop on that scale. I went years, man, probably 20, 30 years. I did not get on a scale. I didn't care. I didn't want to know. And then finally, when I realized, holy crap, I'm fat, I'm overweight, I got a problem here. I hopped on that scale, and when I saw, I was 221 pounds at 5'10". I was like, what have I done? What have I done? And I said to myself, I got to lose this weight. And as I was going along, I checked that weight every single day. And as long as it was staying the same or going in a positive direction, yeah, there's a sense of accomplishment. You get that dopamine hit. We'll talk about that in the future. All this good stuff. I didn't sit there and go, oh man, I'm not there yet. So, focusing on your progress is really important, I think. And then reinforcing your goals, reinforcing your victories, giving yourself rewards, I think can be very motivating too. Sometimes I would say, when I was fasting or whatever, I would say, if I can get this far, I'll give myself this thing. And you know what? The thing that caused you to do the difficult thing is really your primary motivation. But I tell you what, you can have contributing factors, additional motivating factors. I mean, you think about it, sex is a huge motivator for a lot of people, right? I'm going to make this change. Ooh, I see that girl. I see that guy. I want them to like me. I want them to desire me. But look at me. I've got this problem. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this thing. Well, hey, if that motivates you, that's fantastic. Whatever it is that you can find, hopefully you just realize that you are an incredible human being just because you breathe. And regardless of who you have been, you have the potential to be anything you want to be. And I think if we can get that in our heads and put that in our hearts and remember that, and when we think and when we meditate, when we pray, when we create in our minds the future that we will be living, that we are living, I think that everything will change for the positive. So let's get down and remember that anything is possible. We can be as healthy as we want. We can make these things happen. And that's it for now. I really want to thank everybody that's been a part of this healthy living community. I encourage you to come on, be a guest, your experience. And the thing that makes a show really interesting is when we have a lot of people with a lot of different experiences. I think we're doing great. Get with me if you want to be a guest on the show. Get with me if you have a topic you want to explore. And thank you, Willow Creek Springs, for making this uh, podcast possible. And thank you to everybody that's been a part of the healthy living community. Thank you. I'll see you next time.